what is the point? You're like, why do I want to win this tournament so bad? That's something that I wrestle with on a daily basis, because if I win, it's going to be awesome for about 2 minutes. And then we're going to get to the next week and it's going to be like, hey, you won 2 majors this year. How important is it for you to win the FedEx Cup playoffs? And it's just like, we're back here again, you know? At the end of the day, sometimes I just don't understand the point.
Alex, why don't you set up your idea of us talking about good old Scottie?
We've been texting about this for weeks. I mean, this, obviously was I think it was the media day before the British Open.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ironic that he won, given his state of mind. And he kind of just goes on and on about things I think that he was wrestling with and is wrestling with, right? Like, and literally the phrase that he repeats, numerous times is, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? And I think you can see a guy thinking about his purpose. What is his purpose? Here he is, this professional golfer. He's the number one ranked golfer in the world. He's friggin' won, I don't know how many times in the last 2 years, 12 times, I think, in the last 2 years. He's quickly here ascending into a bucket, a Tiger-esque, bucket of comparisons, which is insane. And it's funny, those two, to compare those two, because they seem from a mental perspective, right? Like, to be from very different places, right? Like Scottie talking about it. This isn't who he is. This isn't what's in his heart. He's not trying to, he says it like,
I'm not here to inspire somebody else to be the best player in the world, because what's the point? This is not a fulfilling life.
I'm not trying to inspire the next great golfer in the world, right? Like, that's not his thing. And how short-lived the sweetness of these victories is. I mean, Tom Brady had a rebuttal to this, right? Because it in some ways he disagreed with it, and so it'd be fun to kind of dish it out.
What do you think, Shane? What did you think about it when you heard it?
I wrote a blog on this. I was inspired by Scottie Scheffler and his raw authenticity, his vulnerability, which is so rare. It's the most rarest thing, especially in this world where everything is curated. Everything is curated, and very few things, especially in sports, aside from the actual competition, is authentic, real, raw. And what we saw from Scottie Scheffler, who, by the way, is a pretty closed off private person. We know about his wife Meredith and his newborn child, but you don't know much more about him other than he plays at Royal Oaks and just kind of plays golf. We don't know his hobbies. We don't know his dreams. And so for him to come out at a very weird time, right before one of the most important tournaments of the year, one that he hadn't won before. All right, you can understand if you're up there, totally. You won multiple, and you're like, what's the point? He hadn't won one yet. Obviously, he wants to do what Rory did this year and win the Grand Slam, so he has to win the Open Championship, right? So, it was awesome, and it was shocking. It was shocking as an athlete for someone to say that. It's all contextual too. He's the number one golfer in the world and has been for the last 3 years. It's a little bit different if the 50th ranked golfer comes out and says that in a presser, right? And so I want to give Scottie absolute credit, and I love it. And I wrote a blog about it. But when it comes from Scottie, it means a little bit something different and maybe something a little bit more, and you give him more credit than if the number 25th or 30th golfer, or the golfer that misses the Ryder Cup, says it, right? But I love the authenticity. I love the rawness. I love the realness. And then he backed it up, which is baller, absolutely baller. He probably, if he goes out and he lays an egg, the tabloids, the rags in the UK read, Scheffler doesn't want it. Right. See, look, he talked trash about our tournament and he went out and he laid an egg. See, he doesn't want it enough, but he backed it up. And so to the victors go the spoils, man. The winners write the history book. So I thought it was just an awesome display of confidence, of vulnerability, of rawness, and realness.
I got a lot here. Don't you think the point is that he wasn't the number one player in the world and he's saying this, and that in some ways I view it as his superpower? Like, to go to your example, I think you could poll every golfer that's, 50th ranked golfer to 100th, and they would tell you they'd cut off their left leg to have what Scottie has, right? Yeah. Like, they've been trying at this their entire life. It means everything to them. And I actually think the point of the entire thing is that this is his superpower, right? Especially in golf, which is it's not a reactive thing, right? Like it's not like something you and I did, Shane, that again, you can kind of lose yourself in the game and just playing and hustling. Or like golf is like the ultimate mental sport. I mean, it's 5-6 hour rounds, right? Lots of downtime, lots of time in your head. And you can imagine, right, standing over a big moment, a big putt, a big shot, that motivation of wanting it so bad actually works against you, right? And I think Scottie being so honest and vulnerable in the sense that this doesn't define who I am, right? Like he says it, right? Like the moment that golf interferes with him becoming a husband or a father, he's like, I'm gone. Like this isn't who I am. This doesn't fulfill my heart. And it was really interesting because, obviously he's talking about, he loves golf, right? He loves every day, right? He loves the ability to, like, he gets to the inputs, that we always talk about. Those are things that he says he likes, but he really grapples with the fact that winning is so fleeting. I took it as, again, you can imagine in these big moments, which we've seen, again, like, I think he just won again. He like the last 10 times he's had a 54-hole lead, he's closed it because his ability to, like, let go, I think, right? Like standing over a huge putt, like it doesn't define him. Do you know what I'm saying? And I actually think that is a superpower in that moment. Whereas, like, it's the end of the world. I live and die with that putt. Like for me, when it means when we're playing for $20, but like here he is playing for the British Open, and he has this ability to let go.
My question for Ravi, who grew up in the Chicagoland area, you grew up with the antithesis of this press conference in Michael Jordan.
Yep.
Okay. And is probably why people reacted so harshly to Scottie Scheffler's presser.
Yep.
Because the alpha of all alphas in terms of champion, in terms of athlete, in terms of like maleness is Michael Jordan. So talk about growing up and like that's your guy, right? Yeah. And that's your idea of like how you win a championship is scorched earth. It's burn the ships, right? So what's your reaction when you hear Scheffler?
Well, I think, yeah, Shane, I think you hit the nail on the head as to like why it's so jarring to hear Scheffler talk like that. Because I think that many of us, certainly me, like I think from a distance, you sort of wonder if, like, in order to be amazing as an athlete and truly outstanding like Jordan, if you sort of have to give up everything else in your life and put this ahead of everything else in your life. And I think that, like, it's like the Wright Thompson thing that he said to us on the episode of like what MJ has said to him of like everything that made me amazing at the thing I did that made me like who I was is now preventing me from like having a better life later, like being a good husband, being a friend, whatever. So I think you almost think that it has to have this trade-off. And it's so interesting to me because I agree with you of like what Scottie's defining is something so different. So my reaction, honestly, I would say I found it inspirational because I think that if it requires Jordan like giving up everything else in your life to be excellent or best at something you're doing, that sucks because I think we all want to be good husbands, good dads, good friends, in addition to being great at our jobs. Scottie's, I think, lays out a different trade-off, which we should talk about, but I found it to be like awesome, inspirational. And I guess my read on it was one, like this theme of like, what I do is not who I am. Golf is what I do. It's not who I am. Yeah. I think most people that say that, honestly, they sometimes, not most, some people that say that, I think they use that as an excuse to not work hard at the thing that they do. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like an explanation for mediocrity, which is like, well, I don't really care about it. It's like a defense mechanism to not be great. You know what I'm saying? And I think Scottie's thing that's so interesting is like, no, look, I'm still practicing 10 hours a day or whatever he practices. I'm still amazing at this, but like, it is not who I am. And then I think the other thing that he lays out is like, and it's not as good as you guys think it is who don't play.
Why do I want to win this golf tournament so badly? Why do I want to win the Open Championship so badly? I don't know. Because if I win, it's going to be awesome for about 2 minutes.
It's not like I go around feeling like I'm amazing after the British Open champion or after winning a tournament. It feels good for 2 minutes. Then it's like, whatever. Like, it's like the Kobe picture where he's like sitting there with his hand, holding the trophy, like with his hand on his chin after the championship. It just doesn't last that long. So Shane, to answer your question, one, I found it inspirational because you like don't necessarily, there are like multiple paths to nirvana. Number two, this idea of what I do is not who I am. but not using it as an excuse or a defense mechanism for mediocrity. Like, it's cool to be excellent and still say that. And then 3, I don't know why I have to compete so hard. I do. It's part of me, but the glory is fleeting. I took that to mean that, like, look, man, you better like your journey, because each destination doesn't really last that long.
Yeah.
And for all those things, I thought it was pretty sick. And then it's easy for me to say this because I don't know Tom Brady at all, but I did think, just going back, like, I thought it was kind of rich that Brady had a comment about this, given he's famously not necessarily known as having like the best prioritization with his family and his, career, and for him to kind of come out later and be like, well, I don't know if Scottie knows what he's talking about. I'm like, I don't know. Scottie seems like he's got this pretty well handled. Let's let Scottie have his day here.
It really had a profound impact on me. I don't even know if we've ever discussed this. Like, when you become a father, right? Like, I think for me, it was like the ultimate, like, hold the mirror up to yourself kind of thing, right? And I know what my dad means to me and has meant to me, like the example he set and sets, right? And it was a big moment in my life when I had my son for the first time. And it was like, it really was a wake up call for me of like, to stop living in my fears. I can't let my son see me this example, right? And amongst with other things that we've talked a lot about. And Scottie talks a lot about fatherhood, right? And he is a new father. It also spurred the Tom Brady response, is fatherhood, right? And you said it, like, this idea of what makes a good father. And Tom's rebuttal is exactly that you can do both, right? And then actually my example of hard work and passion and excellence is a great example for my kids, which I don't disagree with.
Yeah, I think
either.
that's fine. It's just more like, it felt like, just let Scottie have his moment. Like, why, like, that was my point. It's not that I think
totally. No, but I do think it's an interesting thing, right? And it certainly, I think is what kind of caused this, right? Like this grappling of Scottie, it's like, why do I want it so bad? I mean, he says it, right? Like, why do I get to Augusta and it's like, why do I freaking want this so bad when I know that even when I win it's this 5 minutes and then it's like, all right, well, what are we having for dinner tonight?
Well, don't confuse this with non-competitiveness.
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think some people confuse Scottie's comments with non-competitive. Scottie Scheffler would step on you, right? If he could win the Masters and he had a chance to step on you, he'd step on you. All right. Because he is a competitor. He is an apex alpha competitor at the highest level. Okay. And so part of why this is so confusing is people confuse that statement and his body language and his words with no, well, maybe Scheffler doesn't really want it. No. Scottie wants it, right? And like, I think his superpower is just being able to separate and being able to turn it off, right? And the Michael Jordans, like he says in The Last Dance, like, part of my problem is that I was never able to shut it off.
Yeah.
Right? Whether I was throwing quarters, whether I was playing basketball, whether I was golfing, whether I was playing poker, I could never turn it off. Right. And so that has become like the proxy of what it takes to be one of the greatest of all time. Right. And so I think what Scottie does, he's got great perspective. When he goes away from the golf course, he seems like he can turn it off. Right. But when I heard those comments from him, I kind of fell for him, because I think he questioned whether that was a sign of weakness.
Well, so,
right?
Okay. So sure. Maybe, Shane, I actually took it, you tell me, I actually took it a little differently. I totally agree with you. I'm like, this dude's a competitor and he's very clear and the evidence is obvious, on that. I thought I went to a little different place, which is, Alex, what you were saying, which is he's sort of like, why do I care so much? Why am I so maniacally competitive about this thing? And I agree with you. I think he can compartmentalize, where it doesn't feel like that level of competitiveness like infects his ability to like be present with his kid or whatever. But I thought that was kind of cool. Like, he's sort of like he's like rising above and looking down at himself and being like, why do I care so much when the thing is so fleeting? So I would ask you guys, okay, look, you guys can draw distinctions within professional athletes. Like, I don't know where you guys would put yourself on the competitor spectrum within people that were 15-year professional athletes. Okay. But people that are 15-year professional athletes are insane on the competitive spectrum as a general matter in the world, amongst the 8 billion people. I was actually talking to someone the other day and like, Shane, how many NBA players have there been that have played 13 years or more? Not very many.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small percentage. I would say less than 20, probably. That's generous.
You're talking about percent.
Yeah.
And less than 20% of people that are like, there's probably like under 10,000 people that have ever played in the NBA at all, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about a few hundred people, maybe. Alex, like how many NFL players have played 16 years or more? Like extremely small, like absolute number, right?
I'm trying to Gemini this, but it's not giving me
wow.
shit.
A little Gemini placement. I feel like they gotta pay us some money before you're gonna,
It didn't come up with shit, so.
Okay. If you guys are examples of people that were extraordinarily competitive, okay? And I hope that I am that way too. I believe I'm pretty competitive. But for you guys, like, there's a lot of evidence to support it. Why? Where do you think it came from to be that insanely competitive? What is the source of that for you guys?
I can't remember a time when I haven't been competitive. Never. That's like the household I was raised in. That's the environment.
Are your siblings, were your siblings as competitive as you all the time?
The wars that my brother Jeremy and I used to get in, the knockdown, fisticuffs, the bloody noses, the fights because the wiffle ball game got out of hand, playing pig with it was one of my earliest memories of my younger brother, of just pounding him mercilessly in basketball, right? Him crying, right? But he always came back the next day. And so like, awesome. And my parents weren't like super competitive people, but like the environment that we were, it was always just like, we wanted to win and we wanted to win. Like I heard a story about Scheffler, and I love this story. It was from his swing coach, Randy Smith, who's been with him, literally since he's been a junior, 10 years old. And he was talking about how Scottie was just a sponge. And his favorite story of Scottie was, here's this kid who's 11 years old, and he came down to watch Randy work out with this touring pro who's probably like, I don't know, 80th in the world, like a professional golfer. And they were working on something, and the target was this pole in the distance, probably like 150 yards down and Scottie's just watching, and Scottie's asking questions like, what are you guys trying to do? And like, oh, we're trying to, draw it into this pole. So Scottie's like, so you're just trying to hit the pole? And like, yeah, that's the goal. So Scottie kind of goes, okay. And goes down to the end of the range. And all of a sudden, someone from the other end of the range is going ping, ping, ping. It's knocking this pole, right? It's Scottie Scheffler at 11 years old, doing the same drill that this one of the greatest, players in the world is trying to do. And this is an 11-year-old kid. No one had to tell him, hey, this is the goal. Yeah. He said, oh, that's what I got to do. Okay. I'm going to go do it. And that's like the competition is just in you like that.
You think it's innate? You think you're born with it, Shane?
I think you're born with it. I do think you're born with it. Just something inside of me has always just wanted to win. And you know me, Ravi, whether we're playing cards, whether we're playing fantasy football, I just like to compete. And I'm not trying to make people look bad. It's not because I want to raise myself above people. I just like to win. I just like to win. I like to say, you know what, I'm going to give my full effort into this, and it paid off, and it doesn't define me, but damn, it feels good. So I'm not going to apologize for any championship I ever won, because damn, I gave it everything I had, and we did it, and it feels fucking great.
Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I love what you said, Shane. Like, listen, this guy's not apathetic, right? Like, Scottie Scheffler is insane. Like, this is the same kid. I remember hearing about. This is the kid that wore pants every day to the golf course because he knew from a young age he wanted to be a pro. Right, like you can't be a pro if you wear shorts.
Story, love it.
I'm wearing. I mean, this is the same kid again. That so he has been working for this his entire life and has put in a ridiculous amount of time and effort into this. And so it is again so shocking that you can be both of these things, which I do agree with you, Ravi, is like inspirational, right? Like these are the things that we talk about all the time, right?
Yes.
Like, can you have this balance? Nature nurture on competitiveness. I kind of agree with you, Shane. Like, listen, I'm the third of 4 kids. Like, I think that had a profound, my siblings and my upbringing and my
Oh.
parents and the house I grew up in had a huge effect on who I am. A huge effect. Like I mean, it was a race to eat eat. Like I could finish my food the fastest so I could go get seconds, right? Like, like I think from day one, that is, so obviously that's a combination, but like I was the opposite of this. I was the absolute, when I turned pro, you had Scottie Scheffler here on one side of the spectrum from perspective, and I was on the complete opposite because I was so obsessed. This became all who I was that I had to like validate other people's, like the draft status and all the fans, and I had to justify all this, and it consumed me, like absolutely consumed me. It was everything that I was.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, and athletes and CEOs who say this, I think they're lying. The goal is never greatness. The goal is never sports immortality or business immortality. All right. It's I want to just like make it, prove that I belong. And then once you get that taste of, oh no, I can be really good at this. Now your aperture kind of widens and your ambition widens. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So like, where do you think that played for you? Right. Like, I just want to make it. Like I just want to go to Utah. I'm going to Utah. Oh my gosh. Like, this is fucking amazing. This is amazing. It's amazing. And then all of a sudden you're like, what? I could be the number one pick.
Yeah.
Right. And so like your expectations as to what success is and your expectations as to what your journey is obviously changes the more you get exposure and the more you realize that you have more potential to do more. Right. And don't you think like this is part of the story as well? Like, I don't think Scottie Scheffler, at 11 years old said, I want to be one of the greatest players of all time. I want to be a Hall of Famer. I want to, threaten Tiger's records. I mean, that's nice to say, but like, I'm sure he would have been happy with a tour card until he realized like, damn, I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I guess for me, I wonder though, Shane, like, again, I just go back is the reason he's the best in the world because of this attitude. Like, that's just what which one comes first, right? Like I don't, the reason he has the guts to be vulnerable and raw up there and to say this is because he does not care what other people think.
But
I would never have had the guts.
He's
to
also
say this.
one though. I think that
I
you can't
agree.
underestimate that. Like,
I know. I agree that certainly that helped. But
if Cam Young gets up there, who's has never won a major, or if Ricky Fowler, gets up there, or whoever the best player has never won a major, and he says, you know what? What's the point? What's the point?
Yeah, but
he would be eviscerated by everybody.
And I think people would then
example though.
Yeah.
Sorry, like we've never heard a superstar say this.
No,
it's the opposite. They live in this intimidating, larger than life. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Tom. Like, we've never seen a guy who. And by the way, I mean, he's still fairly young. He is in his prime right now. I mean, like this is his moment. And I mean, killing golf, right? Like, again, he is in a different stratosphere, and in that moment to have this kind of perspective is very unique.
But Shane, I will tell you. So yeah, of course, everything is true. It's like, this is why it's interesting. It's like not. It is true that it's easier for him to say it because he's won, right? Because he's demonstrated as a champion.
Yes.
It is also true that it's like unique because he's won. Like, all the people that win generally are like, no, I put this out of everything. It truly, to me, this, I don't know. I think there's some analogy to Steph here a little bit, which is that like, I don't think Steph talks like that. He doesn't say those words, but I do think it reminds me a little bit of him, of this like apex predator on the court, but also seems to have priorities and, whatever else in line off the court. I don't know, honestly, if Steph would ever ask what's the point, because I think he's extremely religious from what I understand. And I think he like feels like the purpose maybe comes back to that. And so it's almost to me this like weird triangle of like excellence, compartmentalization, and also like not knowing exactly what the purpose is yet, right? Which is why it was so fascinating. I will tell you that I think, on like all the points you're talking about, one, on competitiveness, whatever level of competitiveness I've had, day one, I cannot remember anything. I cannot remember not caring. I do think that like I'm proud of, I'm very deliberate on which things I'm competitive on. Like, I don't care. Avni actually gets mad at me sometimes. We're like playing cards with like my parents, and like I just could not give a shit about who wins. And I I love playing, but she's like, why do you not remember the cards? You're like smart. Why do you not count them? I'm like, I don't care at all. I just like want to sit here with the four of us and have fun. And she's like kind of annoyed. So like, but when there's other things where like I care deeply about winning, you know what I'm saying? And so like Shane at Commissioner's Cup against you and, brother Michael, me and my brother, like we talked about that for a year, that we were like going to be competing against you guys. I cared so much. And so anyway, the competition thing, that was like in me and then enhanced through my brother being good at everything. I do think that the thing I like about what Scheffler said is he's letting us see the fact that he wonders about his purpose while winning everything. Because I think the lazy analysis is that his purpose is to win golf tournaments. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I think it's like so cool to be able to see someone who's achieving at that level who's like, yes, I'm an apex predator competitor. Yes, I like think my fatherhood and husbandry is more important. And I wonder about what my purpose is. Like, it's awesome. It's so cool
Yes.
that we get to like see it. And I'm like very grateful to him for saying it,
I couldn't agree more that you don't have to just be one thing, right? And that you don't have to fit in this bucket. And then again, to just have, and by the way, like all of it, right? The example of even just of the media day, like that example of just like not caring, man. I know this isn't what you guys want to hear or think that I should be saying, but I'm going to say it because this is what's on my mind. And then obviously the words obviously reinforce it as well. Is I think it's I kind of come back to what you said at the beginning, Ravi. Like it is inspirational.
Well, though, you know what, though, I want to talk about, Alex, I want to go back to your point on like what impact it has of him recently becoming a dad. I think you've hit on something deeply, deeply, deeply important there in terms of like an impetus to think like this. For sure, for me, when I became a dad, I still remember this so clearly. Hurricane Sandy happened in New York, like, I don't know, a few weeks after Nyan and Shrey were born. And there was like all this stuff of like, well, what's going to happen? And, and my parents were in town and Hurricane Sandy was about to hit. And there was something that came up where like we might lose power or something like that. And my dad's like, what is your plan if you guys lose power in this apartment? And I think I like gave some like flippant response of like, Dad, like the gas will still be on. We'll light a match. We'll heat the bottle. Like it'll be fine, And he like looked at me like very seriously and was like, hey, it's not like cool anymore to not care, right? You're a father now. And I remember being like, whoa, like, you were like responsible for these tiny children. Like, don't give me this like throwaway answer about what you're going to do if the power goes out. Like, whose house are you going to? Who's going to take you and these children and your dog in? You know what I'm saying? Like, if something happens. And I was like, and it was extremely affecting. And it was also, to your point, like, it was just like everything's different now. Everything's different now. What kind of person are you going to be? Like, so much of what I do is thinking now, will they be proud of what I would do? Is this what I would tell them to do? So I do think that the impetus for this, I would bet, is like realizing your whole life like is different once the kid comes along, And so I thought it was interesting, Alex, like the impact that Hudson being born has on like effectively like stop acting in a way that you wouldn't want him to act.
Totally.
Right? Yeah. I think that's like, that was so defined for me.
Yeah, well, Shane, you say it all the time, right? Like parenting isn't what we say. It's like not in those moments, right? It's like what our kids see us doing. And like I do, like again, like this ultimate check, right? Like, do I want my son to see me living like this, right? Like, I'm just consumed with what other people think about me, right? Like,
I also
think
you
cannot control.
But I'm proud of like the fact that I worked really hard, and I hope my kids find something in their life that they feel passionate about, that they want to pour everything into and want to do, practice and put more into it than the practice hours, that they feel so like energized by this thing that they have to do, which was basketball for me. Like I talk about the fulfillment 5 all the time, the 5 things that you need. I love basketball. Right. I love the status of being an NBA player. I love the compensation. I love the purpose that it gave me fighting for an NBA championship every single day. And I love my teammates. Right. And so like I found something that like, man, I loved it. It didn't define me. And I knew I was more than that. And I was a friend, and I was a husband, and a philanthropist, and, and all these things. But like, I loved looking back at my career and knowing that I put everything I could into it, and I got everything out of it. Not because I won championships. That's a bonus. It's great, and I can say that because I won. I'm fully aware of that. I can say that, But even if I didn't win, like, man, I gave it everything I had, and like, I'm proud of that. I'm so proud of that, and overcoming adversity and just getting better and getting kicked in the face and coming back, and like, yeah, man, like, I'm proud. And so, like, I hope that my kids find something that is as passionate as I was. Now, they don't need to do it my way. I was burn the ships. All right. I will, I had some plays in my playing career that you can probably Google that I'm probably not proud of, but like, it was in the name of competition. I didn't cheat. I never cheated, but, I towed the line in terms of, wanting it really, really bad. But, I hope my kids don't do it exactly the way I did it, but I want them to do it holistically, in a way to find something that they can pour themselves into. Because I think that's worthy. And I think that makes you a fulfilled person in the end of the day.
Shane, I mean, you literally, this is the Tom Brady. I don't want to call it a rebuttal, because I don't think it is a rebuttal, but he got a lot of flack for this as well, right? Like, this was his response to the Scheffler interview. And it's like, being a great dad isn't necessarily like only reading to your kids at night and helping them with their homework, right? Like, it's more than that, right? And it is this example in living with passion and hard work and dedication, and like, again, modeling that behavior for your kids. And I don't disagree with that either. I don't. I think what is, I guess, at the core of this, though, and I think what Scheffler's getting at is, again, like, what defines you from a purpose standpoint, right? Like, what fulfills your heart and the motivation. And for Scheffler, I do think that he grapples out, and I think, again, this is being a husband and has his first child, and right now this family, and that so much of this is, he says it, right? It's like, it comes from a selfless place, right? Like, let's be very clear here. My son and wife are the most important things in my life,
100%.
And it's not golf. And the moment that golf ever, right, like, interferes with that, like, I'm done. I think Tom obviously trying to define that, listen, I can be good at all these things, and they're all interconnected, right?
Yeah.
But I do think, I guess I come back to, again, what's the motivation?
On the Brady point, like, look, one of the first things you learn when you like become a parent is like, don't judge other people's parenting, right? You don't know what the hell's going on in their life. It's hard to be a parent. People should do it different ways. And so if Tom Brady thinks that like the way he did it is the right way to do it for his kids, I'm sure he's right. Good. Cool. I think that what he should have said, in my opinion, is like, I did it this way. It worked for us. Scottie's doing it his way. It works for him. I don't think he should have commented, in my opinion, on like, Scottie's wrong. It's like, no, Scottie's not saying you're wrong. He's just saying he wonders about it. So that was my point there, right? And I do think that that's like, there really are different ways to do it. Shane, I think what you said, which I love, is like, I hope all of our kids go on like worthy journeys, right? And I really hope that, whatever that is, I think, we all feel like we've been on worthy journeys. Yes. And like, those are the ones that are fun and they're hard and they have all these different elements. And like, what I feel from you on your NBA career is like, it was a worthy journey, man. Yes. Like basketball in general was a worthy journey. Same for you, Alex, on football and like all the different things. And there's, journeys within them. And I really, really, really believe that. Somebody once told me that like, you could reduce my job into like, stand up, sit down, pick up the phone, try to make rich people richer, right? Like it's like you can like reduce anything to terrible things, right? And like, you could reduce Scottie's journey into like, hit a ball into a hole over and over and over and over again. And so I do think that like, when you do that, you can start to wonder like, what am I spending all this time for on this thing, right? But Scottie loves it. And I think this is where I come back to like, it's not everything that we do within like, I don't know, a certain group of people in America. Like let's leave people out that are starving and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But like, our lives are unrecognizable to people from 200 years ago. And effectively all of us are playing some sort of game. Even the work that I do, it is some sort of game if you really like abstract it out versus like subsistence farming.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it is, if you have like reached some level of financial security or whatever, there is at least a question, I think, oftentimes that comes up for people of like, what on earth am I spending all this time for?
Yeah.
And like, back to Alex, like title of this episode, like, what's the point? And I think that to me, it's almost like it goes back to like the point is to be excellent. The point is to work hard at things. The point, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't you think?
No, I totally hear you, but I guess I want to flip it on you because obviously, I mean, it's easy for Shane and I, and obviously Scottie plays a sport, and so it's easy to like reflect on it from that perspective. But for everybody else out there, right, like you could change this, right? Like, so material success for you, right? You crush your job, like, insanely successful. Like it's still like, what's the point?
Yeah. Oh, dude.
And like for anybody out
totally.
there, right? Like, and so since I've retired, this is a little bit of a looming question for me, right? Because I would love to say that football didn't define me, and I don't want it to define me. So, but I have the rest of my life, and it's like, well, what are you going to do? What now?
Yeah.
Right.
What,
like
what I find interesting about this conversation, and we actually had this discussion earlier today. This is, for those who don't know, Glue Guys is a show about teams and how to turn a group of people into a team, right? Or at least that's what we're saying today. Scheffler's not on a team. This is where it gets a little bit different. Okay, when we are a part of a team,
that's interesting.
You are either a leader or have a large part in that team, your job is to bring people with you. That's the point. That's the point of life, I believe, is to do as well as you can and bring people along with you on the journey. That's the point, at least for me. And that has always been my North Star. And for me, my NBA career was about, I want to play 10 years and retire before I get kicked out of the league. Those are my only two goals. My only two goals in my basketball career was I want to play in the NBA for 10 years and I want to retire before they ask me to leave. And if I did that, I knew that I'd be in a position to bring people along with me. Regardless of what my stats were, regardless of how many championships I won, I would be in the position to bring people along with me. And I have, through Take Charge Foundations, through my corporate speeches, through this podcast. Like I've contributed to society. I think I've made people's lives better, given them a different perspective that has enhanced their journey. That's my job. Okay. Now, again, my life has been teams. And so that's very natural to me. For a golfer, it might be different. Their teams are much smaller, obviously, with their swing coach and their trainers and their agents. And so I don't feel
caddies, baby.
Caddies. Yeah. Shout out Bones. Shout out Bones.
Shout out to Luke from Mahoopy. Okay.
Luke from Dave from Mahoopy. But like,
we got to get Brother Smith a consistent caddy. But anyway, go on.
Maybe Scottie, and he's not there yet. He feels the need to bring his family along, but like he could bring like a lot of people along with him, right, through his career. Yeah. And maybe he doesn't want that responsibility like now. And, you tend to get that perspective a little bit more as you age and you realize your own, sports mortality and your own professional mortality. Like I talked to Keegan Bradley when I played golf with him earlier this year, captain of the Ryder Cup. And he was
Who else was in your foursome, Shane, when you played with Keegan?
Yeah. Keegan was my partner, T5, baby.
I know, but I'm saying who else was in your foursome that day?
The GOAT.
Let's go.
And Seth Wow, my boy. But Keegan was very transparent about, look, when I was younger, I was a selfish golfer. And I was, it was about my performance, and I didn't want to, necessarily help the younger guys coming behind me. Like I've changed now. I'm a father of multiple kids. I'm on my way out. I'm still playing. He should make the Ryder Cup this year, but he's like, I feel a responsibility to help people who are coming behind me. And so that was a really cool perspective from Captain Keegan. And so maybe Scheffler's just not there yet, right? And he'll find that purpose, because I think everyone comes to a point where they feel they got to bring people along. I don't, that's
you don't think there was a lot of power in this press conference? I mean, I applaud him for this
100%. But I think he was being honest. I don't think he was doing it to the benefit of you and I. I think he was just being honest, and he was talking from the heart. He wasn't saying, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have these feelings and think about what's more. And
Alex, let me ask it a different way. Let me ask you a different way. Okay. I agree with you. I think there's huge power in it. And I think it is a superpower right now. I think if we do agree that part of the press conference was him saying, like, I am very happy with my life. I love it. I'm good at it and I'm enjoying it. And I do wonder sometimes about the purpose professionally, right? But it doesn't affect my like ability to be excellent. Here's the real question for you. And I want to go back to what you asked earlier on me I want to answer that. But when Scheffler's 45, okay. And let's just say he's been amazing. He like, I don't know if he gets the Tiger level, but he's one of the top 5 golfers of all time. Some incredible career. Okay. Do you think at 45, Scheffler will be saying something similar, or do you think that at 45, he would view it as successful if he could be like, yeah, actually, I did kind of figure out what the point was for my life in addition to my family. Mm-hmm. I have found a way professionally to do X, Y, and Z. Like, because what I'm hearing from Shane is a little bit like, yeah, it's amazing. It's inspirational. It's great. It's a superpower. And Scheffler is not fully where he's going to be when he's 45 as it relates to like purpose. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, obviously
if
I were in those shoes,
Scottie, okay. Come on,
Scottie, if you're listening,
the thing is what I hear, right? Like, and he says it like the achievements are personally gratifying.
Yep.
Right. Like personally gratifying. And I do think, again, you know, at the end of your career, you do look back on it, and that gratification again is so selfish. And I think this is again the crux of this. It doesn't fulfill your heart, though, right? Like, again, and this is what you're saying, Shane. Like, it can't be about you, right? And there's more to life, right? Like, and for him right now with his young family, his faith, like, again, your community, like those are what you talk about as far as purpose, right? And I think he clearly is saying, like, I was not put on this earth necessarily like to be a pro golfer, right? Like, that doesn't define me. And again, he may have, this Hall of Fame career already. And again, those achievements can selfishly be gratifying for your ego. But that's not purpose in my mind.
Yeah. And I think, look, I mean, you could imagine him saying, like, look, man, anybody can concoct a way to create something that's fake. Like, Scottie would be like, look, like, I'm an example of what happens if you work extremely hard at something and devote yourself to it. Like, he is very inspirational in terms of like some relationship between long-term hard work and success, right? Scottie also has like a really different looking golf swing than a lot of people. You're like, I'm an example of non-conformism. Like, you can come up with whatever you want. I think he's being very authentic of like, I love it because I love it. I do wonder sometimes, like, what's the point?
I think the other lesson in this, like, that I come back to, and he says it multiple times, like, he's grateful and he loves playing golf. He loves waking up.
He says it. I love playing golf. Yeah.
And like, I do love this idea of inputs. He talks a lot about being present.
I have some dreams and aspirations that I'm always striving towards, but at the end of the day, I try to stay present. I try to practice hard each and every day.
He doesn't set a ton of goals, right? Like, I'm going to win X number of tournaments this year, X number of majors. Like, that's not how, like, again, the focus is on the things that actually matter and like that you can control. And again, those are inputs. This is like the Bill Walsh philosophy, right? Like, it does come back to this, like, the score takes care of itself. Focus on the shit that matters. And I think this is a great example of that, right? And again, like, for me, it just was so different than when I became a
It was amazing.
I have a very serious professional question for you. All right, you are a board member of many companies in the Sequoia portfolio. Your next board meeting, founder comes in and says, "Hey guys, here are the financial results for the quarter, but what's the point here? What is the point? Does this really matter? What is your reaction as a board member? And what is the reaction of your fellow board members if you get that statement from the CEO founder who you've invested into? Is the dynamic different? Is it the same? Is it a fair question? Is it not a fair question?"
Are we saying he won 12 tournaments in the
I
last
was
2
about to
years?
say, is
Like,
this the number
He's fun-
75
he's
golfer
funded by
or is it the number
Sequoia.
one golfer?
He's funded by Sequoia, so he's it's not his first, not the first day on the job.
Look, I think here, listen, a few reactions, truthfully. One, I think we tell people this sometimes, is like, if you're going to perform, you can have as many or as few meetings as you want, right? Like if you're not, like maybe we should meet a little more often to talk about what's going on and whatever. So I guess one thing I really do think, if the person was just absolutely crushing and they're like, our business is crushing and I sometimes wonder what the purpose is, right? But like, I don't know why, but it still matters to me that we're crushing and I'm putting in all this time. The real answer is like, if it was a Scottie Scheffler equivalent on performance, we kind of be like, hey man, do your thing, and I think that what probably would happen later would be there would be a separate group of a subset of board members who'd call each other, be like, do you think that this person's going to quit? Like there'd be a real question on duration. Do you see what I'm saying? It would be like, do we think we just heard that this person might not want to do this for a long time? And then somebody else would be like, no, do you hear how many times that he or she said they love it, they love it, they love it, whatever. So I really think that like that would be a question. I think if somebody who wasn't crushing it was saying that, the person who hasn't won, Shane,
Yep.
I think there'd be a lot of conversations of like, oh, like you're not is this person really a missionary? Are they really obsessed with this mission? And, you'd want to talk to them. And again, it would come back to duration, which is like, are they going to want to do this for the amount of time that you're going to need to do this for to be excellent?
Yeah.
And I think like going back, and Alex, I'm glad you're bringing it to like some non-athletic pursuits, because I do think that like the vast majority of people that listen to this or listen to Scottie like aren't professional athletes. And it's more relatable to think about it outside of the context of professional sports, right? I think that there's sort of some level of like most people work because they need the money. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to like acknowledge that like whatever beyond the money, those are higher order things you hope to get. But like the first reason most people work is like they have to support their families.
Yep.
I think if you've achieved that to some extent, then the next question is sort of like, what are you doing this for? And I will tell you just personally for me, like, what do I do my stuff for? One is I like playing challenging games. I find this game to be challenging. Like it is not easy for me to figure out what to do, what companies to invest in, what to tell someone when they're going through a hard time professionally. Like I find that to be challenging and I like playing challenging games, right? Like the same reason most of us like doing that. That's one. Two, I want to tell my kids that it's good to play challenging games. Do you see what I'm saying? I want them to know that like you got to keep playing things that are hard, right? No matter what happens in your life or career, like you are going to need to do things that are difficult. I like really believe that. There's this great Rafael Nadal quote of like, we need these difficult things. Like, I think that you like really want to have that. And then I also do it because I like the people I spend time with, and I like being relied upon. This is a Sam Hinkie thing of like, I like being reliable. I like being relied upon. I like if a founder I work with calls me and is sort of like, hey, like this happened. What do you think we should do? Like, it makes me feel good that they care what I think. And it honestly does more for me than I do for them. So, but Alex, I will tell you that like sometimes most pronounced feeling of this to me is if I'm traveling and I'm like away from home, and I'm doing something that I'm not enthusiastic about when I'm traveling, I have like the full, like, what on earth am I doing?
yes, totally.
Right? Like,
Totally.
why am I here? Like, what, and then I'll get a text on our family text chain, and it's the people looking so happy or not happy. And I'm just like, why am I not there right now? Like, what am I doing this for? So I find those moments to be most pronounced, if I'm traveling for something I'm not enthusiastic about. I see Shane nodding.
That was my entire year at ESPN. The people were great there, but I asked myself, what is the point? What is the point? I'd finish a game. I remember calling an absolute rock fight. It was Louisville at Georgia Tech on a Saturday. All my buddies were golfing. All right. And I'm in the Georgia Tech arena, and the score was like 48 to like 38. It was an absolute rock fight of a basketball game. And I got done and I'm like, what am I doing here? Yeah. What is the point of this? Yeah. And that was it. That was it. That's when I decided I had to retire. So shout out ESPN.
By the way, I just signed back on that note. 2 more years, re-upped ESPN, baby. You guys are hitting on, I think, at least for me, this is really front of mind. It's really something that dealing with right now, because I mean, I could do nothing. I mean, I could literally do nothing. That's what is that? Like,
No,
that's
you
not
couldn't.
fucking purpose.
You have too
That's
much.
not
you-
fucking
you-
playing-
Too much
that's
inside
not
of you.
purpose.
I don't think you'd be able to sustain that. I'm
No,
sorry.
and either you couldn't sustain playing golf every day either,
No, I know that.
right?
I
Like,
know
so,
that.
but like that,
The
I-
He's like, "That's right."
the marriage would not sustain that.
for sure. And I think the thing I enjoy about TV right now, my current role, is my team. I love the team I'm on is awesome. They're just fucking awesome. The shows comes first. It's like,
Dude, and it's the
people are
text
great.
chain that comes along with
Yeah,
the team. It's
totally.
like all these things.
But it is also the challenge of the TV, which, by the way, you want to talk about the shallowest medium on the planet, right? Like, it is literally like they put makeup on me. But like, can I be real?
Yeah.
Given the lights and the cameras and the makeup and like the crux of like, can I be real about, obviously I played a long time. I sat in a lot of seats and, had a lot of experiences. And so, to your point, Ravi, like doing challenging things, that's what I derive from it. And not to like justify it, but like, again, these are all just, this is all like real time for me, having just re-signed, and I have these same conversations with my wife, and I'm going to be away a chunk of nights. Right. Like, and to have these feelings, Ravi, like, but it is very much like I'm living it right now, and I like grappling with all this shit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think this is actually very important. There's times like this is so dumb, but like when we go on Commissioner's Cup, I don't have one moment of feeling like, what am I doing here? Right? I'm like investing time with my close friend. I love it. So it's not that I can't travel. It's if I am traveling for something that turns out not to be worthwhile, and then I'm like, what have I done? Why did I agree to this? And so I think, to me, you have to re-sign. It's actually nice that you have to like re-sign the contract. Right? You got to re-underwrite. Do I want to go?
Yeah.
Is this worthwhile? And like, look, if it was 52 weeks a year, there's no way you sign this thing.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
However many weeks it is, and then particular days, like, look, there's 365 days in a year. However many days you've like signed up, it ain't 365 and it ain't 200. And so it's not like a knock against travel. There's some travel that like we have our fantasy football draft this weekend. I'm looking forward to that travel, like, but it just, it depends. Yeah. It depends on what it's for. Priorities.
To bring it back to Scottie, I love the vulnerability. I think the messaging was spot on, given the circumstance, given the stakes that were at hand. It's only golf. It's only a golf tournament, but it's a tournament that pretty much anybody who's ever picked up a golf club would give anything to win, right? And I thought it was just a really authentic moment, and I applaud Scottie.
Me too.
I it would have been better recepted if he would have said, not what's the point, because that makes it feel that like we're all wasting our time with this venture, versus what else is there? What else is there? What else is out there that can make me feel whole? Right. And so I think a lot of people reacted just by the verbiage that he used. I understood 100% what he was saying. Right. Said in a different way, it might have landed a little softer with the hardcore Jordanites out there.
Yeah. I loved it. I found it inspirational, truly, of like, work like crazy, be crazy competitive, be the best, also have your priorities in line, and also be introspective. Like, I thought it was incredible and like awesome and inspirational. I hope Scottie's listening. That'd be great. But then I also, do you guys think he's going to win this weekend?
Yeah.
Strong likelihood.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And like, I don't know, like there is a unique brand of athlete when there's like an inevitability to them winning. And particularly when that happens in golf, it's just insane. And I understand this weekend he starts with a big lead, but like, anyway.
It's so funny because I think at times like vulnerability like this and being raw can be such a flex of strength.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this guy is so secure in who he is.
Yeah.
That he can get up there and open up and like bare his heart. Right. And like, listen, like that. Like, these are questions that every probably human on earth is grappled is like, what is the point? Right. Like, it is such a human part of life. And again, for him to do that, I think was just such a shown of respect. There's so much courage right? With that example, again, that modeling that behavior, I think was amazing for everybody out there. Not just the kids listening, but the kid and me, you know.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So was really powerful.